Hello, Mark. All right. First of all, yes, the wrist locking is definitely not happening very well. Uh, so this is the right side wrist, and definitely there's a lot of flop going on during the recoil. So as you can see, the angle over here we're seeing right there. You can see the top part over there. You can see there's a lot of angle change. You can see wrist is not locked properly over there. That's one thing. Uh, I don't particularly see any support hand separating under the grip, which is a good thing. But the wrists, not just the right side wrist, left side wrist is also a little floppy, but not to the same degree of firing hand side. Um, this particular motion over here, you can see how there's no angle change on the support hand wrist on that particular pair. Most of the pair, I haven't seen the support hand flipping a whole lot. Just once a while, basically the consistency of your both wrists behaving in the under recoil was very different, each pair. So what I recommend is instead of having restarting every single pair, meaning you shoot double and then lower it, and then shoot double and then lower it, and then shoot double and lower it. No, 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 no. Just go full 8 pairs or 4 pairs to 6 pairs, something like that. I mean, I usually recommend people go at least 4 pairs, so 8 total shots, non-stop, nothing changing. And then the next run, if you feel like, hey, my grip is not right, my grip is kind of oval or going to 1 o'clock or dipping down a lot, then the next pair I recommend typically is just fill up your mag and shoot pairs until you run out of the bullet out of the magazine. The whole section, you don't want any disconnect, but one thing that you can do is keep aiming on the target. For the first shot, of course, the first shot should be going pretty much the same hole, but for the entire, let's say, 10 pairs you're shooting, if you're shooting 20 shots, then what you do is shoot 1 pair, and then I feel like, my firing hand side was floppier. Okay, I'm going to engage more. Meaning, you give a immediate change pair after pair, and then once you feel like, okay, my shots were going pretty well, that was a good pair. Okay, I'm going to copy paste that for the rest of the runs. So in this kind of case, instead of resetting every single time, you're analyzing and then improving on the fly for the next pair, and then finish up the drill with the rest of the rounds with the good recoil management. That kind of makes sense? That's one principle. Right now, the dipping, like the muzzle dipping down you're seeing, boom, and then muzzle dips down and wobbles up and down and then dips down. That is definitely happening mainly because of the firing hand wrist is floppy. Oftentimes, when the slide doesn't shut, of course, the slide is shutting forward and then that's pushing the muzzle down, often cases, if the support hand is not doing a good job or wrists are very floppy. If the slide is not shutting down, you shouldn't see a muzzle flopping down. If your muzzle flops up and down a lot after the slide is locked back, then you're pushing the gun down too much. But if you're not having a good solid, or if you're not over fighting the force, so to say, if you're not pushing down per se, the muzzle shouldn't move down. So that actually shows in the video. This is actually proving the floppy wrists happening. So when the slide locks, it comes back down without wobble much, right? The muzzle comes back to parallel and then stopped. What this means is you're not pushing the gun down, which is a good thing. But because of wrists is flopping a lot, meaning you the downward of force or the way you return back to the target is good. But simply because the wrists cannot uphold the force of slide forcing you down, the muzzle is forcing down. Does that make sense? So what this means is this, only because of the slight force is pushing the muzzle down, you're having a wobble. If there's no weight coming forward, which pushes down, if there is no weight pushing down, the muzzle is not wobbling up and down. Does that make sense? And the reason why your muzzle did not wobble up and down when the slide locks back was because, first of all, you are having a good idea how much you need to bring the gun back down, but the muzzle didn't wobble because of that weight didn't wobble it up and down, and your wrist lock did not matter because there's no weight pushing down, slide weight pushing down. I hope that makes sense. So basically the fix is, yes, when the slide comes forward, which is what's going to happen when we actually shoot without a slide lock in between, you still need to have that wrist locked properly to be able to uphold the weight coming forward and creating the force muzzle wobble thing. So basically, what you need to try right now is, first of all, I'm going to put the link down in the description, but it's basically an exercise to learn how to lock your wrists. You got to start doing that, not only locking the wrist, but also maintaining the firing hand tension relaxed as well. So basically, you're learning how to lock your wrist without tensing up other muscles as well. Of course, when you do that exercise, you want to have all the other muscles relaxed. Hand muscle relaxed, tricep, bicep, things like that, all relaxed. So once you learn that, you should be doing very daily. Any small fragment, like if you are stopping on a red light, you have maybe a minute of waiting time. Do that exercise. If you are waiting for food to come out, do that exercise. Any downtime, you should be doing the exercise at least for the next 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months. And after that, you should do it once a while to still remember things, not lose that sensation, or to control, individual control over your forearms, which locks the wrists. And then, for the range trips, when you go to the range, do that exercise immediately before doubles. And if you feel like your wrist is still floppy, do that exercise one more time. Really focus on engaging that muscle alone and then try to shoot that. Of course, you still have to have a good stance, good grip position, support hand, gripping pretty hard, firing hands pretty relaxed, and then forearm should be really working hard to keep those wrists locked. But again, the challenge will be when you lock that forearm, when you first try that, a lot of other muscles will try to force or tense up, especially hand muscle is the common one, and also tricep muscle and the shoulder muscle is another common one. So when you are trying to lock your wrists, basically engaging the forearms, you may see like shoulder tensing up or pushing the gun down with the shoulder joint with the whole arm kind of thing. So pay attention to that. The really key is right now is to learn how to lock your lock your wrists with the forearm stuff. One last thing I want to mention is there's going to be second link down into the description. Right now, you're doing a smaller transition where you don't really have to move head to get your vision to the next target. Meaning you can move your eyeballs and you can probably see the next target. But this is not something that you should do by default. So right now, the speed of your head turning and speed of your gun turning is the same speed. Any wider, like 45 degrees past transition angle, often you have to turn your head to get your eyeballs to the next target, especially like bigger angle. It really matters on your head speed to get your vision next to the target. So even if it's a shorter transition like 30 degrees where your head actually turns, even though your eyeballs arrived on the next target, make a habit of moving your head as fast as humanly possible speed at all times. So I'm going to put the link down in the description. You should be seeing your head snapping every single time when the head has to move. All right, I'll talk to you next time.